Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the March 28th, 2018 Board of Directors meeting of Nevada Irrigation District. At this time, we'll have public comment. You'll have 3 minutes. And we ask again that you keep within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. And I will be able to work this gizmo today, I believe.
I'll give you a
You're
break.
on.
I won't be 3 minutes, but it's running. Okay. Good morning. My name is Peter Van Zandt. I'm a customer, and I live at Ridge Estates Road in Nevada City. I was going to come here this morning to give you an update and put in the record an update on our status on Centennial based on the discussions, 2 months ago now, that the engineering committee was going to give that update every month. But there's no update because the engineering committee was canceled. So other than what you'll get today or in closed session, there was nothing. So our monthly update didn't happen this month. Thank you.
Good morning, Michael Hillweld, resident of Division 1. I'm here this morning to request again that the board add the Centennial Dam project as a standing item on every board agenda. As Peter just pointed out, the way you're doing it now, you're having it at the committee level. When the committee doesn't meet, there's no report. It's clear from the general manager's reports, the warrants reports, and the closed session agenda items that NID is aggressively moving the dam project forward. For example, it appears that in the first 2 months of 2018, NID has spent $580,341 on dam design and engineering. In addition, it appears the board will consider purchasing a 4.83 acre parcel and home on Deerwood Place with an assessed value of $1,841,000 in today's closed session. The board and district are taking these actions without having determined that the project is needed and or viable. You're waiting for reports to tell you that, and yet in the meantime, you're moving forward, spending millions of our dollars on this project, and without informed public input. Reports to the board committee are insufficient, especially when meetings are canceled. They're not live streamed, so the public doesn't have access to the meeting if they can't actually attend it. It's long past time for the NID board to schedule regular dam project updates and discussion of the issues surrounding the project at every board meeting. The best way to do this is to include it on every board agenda as a routine item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kurt Lorenz, 42-year Nevada County resident, former Nevada County Planning Commissioner. I wanted to, since I won't be here, obviously at closed session today, I wanted to urge the NID commissioners to take a second thought about this land purchase that you're looking at today. Whatever the technical legality of it may be, it looks terrible. From a public point of view, this is a crazy thing to do. As has been pointed out, you have no permits yet for this project. And I urge you to think about the quantity of repairs on your basically 19th century leaky water distribution system that you could do for $1.8 million. This is public money that's been collected through operations of the district. And it's hard for me to believe there wouldn't be three of you sitting here today who would understand that this purchase just looks really bad. And I urge you to take a second thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Otis Wallen. I'm from Colfax, your volunteer 6th board member from the unrepresented part of Placer County. My comments this morning go to Rollins 2, which is your hydro
Next time.
proposed
That's right.
project. And I do that by means
Thank
of a short report on how things are going at the Middle Fork project on PCWA. Basically, if you look at this is the projection of revenues and expenses 2018 through 2022. If you look at the top line, roughly they are projecting. That's it. Roughly projecting $40 million is the average over the 5 years of revenues, and you can see expenditures. They're looking roughly in the $35 million zone. You know, you're talking about net revenues of probably about $5 million from that project. This is a 224 megawatt project. I remind you that your proposed project is 13 megawatts. If you go to the next page, this is a part of the Middle Fork project report. The graph there is just shows you how they're allocating the 343,000 acre feet of storage. But the next page, which is this one here, shows you that part of that $40 million is all of the benefits they have for the resource adequacy capacity subscription, the renewable energy credits, and carbon-free energy. Those are just about the best bonuses you can get, and that kind of accounts for about $6 million. If you look at the next page, those are going down over the next. They went down this year, and they project that as going down. If you go to the next page, you'll see energy prices. That's this graph, and these are not being driven by the electrical market. It's really gas prices which are driving this thing down, and the projections are not juicy. Given 13 megawatts compared to 224 megawatts, you got about 1/20th of the possibilities of revenue. 1/20th of that will bring you down to about $500,000 a year, which doesn't pay for a damn. Customer accounts, look at the last page. It was mentioned in a meeting that when you were talking about discretionary spending for the manager, that PCWA had a smaller cap because it was a smaller agency. You'll see that PCWA has a third more customers than NID. Its treatment plant capacities for water is twice the size of NID. Its reservoir storage is about 20% larger than NID. Its hydro generation is roughly 3 times that of NID, and its current budget is 20% higher than NID. I suggest to you that it's important to know who your neighbors are and who your partners are, and they can help instruct and inform your future if you are willing to look and analyze. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you, Otis. You're on.
Nicole Ragland, Nevada City. I'd like to say that I ran into REM a few weekends ago, and living in a town such as ours, you run into people that sometimes you find yourself on opposing sides of an issue, and REM carried himself very in a friendly, kind, and professional manner. At not the last NID meeting, but the meeting before, your general engineering manager or general engineering, Gary King, has taken to calling Marin and I characters from TV shows. And when called on it, he didn't say that he was joking. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was your name." And I would just like to encourage you to tell your employees to act in a way, even though we're on opposing sides, I would never disrespect anyone. I think I was kind to Rem. And, you know, we even joke. So I don't intimidate easily, and if it was an intimidation tactic, I would just like to let Mr. King know that when somebody is calling me something other than my name, I take it as a compliment because it shows that they are the ones who are intimidated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, board and everyone here. Diana Suarez, Colfax. At the last meeting, I asked Director Will Morbach that in the interest of fairness, a 13-minute video about our Bear River be shown at an NID meeting. I later made that request via email as instructed, and my request was denied. No reason was given. Per NID Policy 5022.2, I am requesting that the board reconsider. Dear Director Will Morbach, I received your email response and am dismayed. I understand that after consultation with General Manager Scherzinger, it was decided that the video, Kumimseo, River of the Roundhouses, will not be agendized for an NID board meeting. The 13-minute video premiered at the Park Wild and Scenic Film Festival March 17th at the State Theater in Auburn. It is an aerial overview of the Bear River Run that NID would inundate, along with spoken words from the indigenous people, young people, residents, and others knowledgeable of the subject. I was hopeful that the NID board may be taking a more open and collaborative path forward regarding this large infrastructure project. Additionally, by showing the very landscape that would be inundated and lost, along with those most affected who do not have a voice in NID matters, an important aspect of consideration would be on display for not only NID board members, but their senior staff, interested ratepayers, taxpayers, and the general public. A reasonable person may think that this was important information for all to see and hear. Kumimseu, River of the Roundhouses, should be part of the public dialogue regarding the dam at the NID board meeting. I remind you that Director John Drew has used much more time during board meetings to show both a slideshow and a video promoting Centennial Reservoir. This is a denial of the right of the citizens to be heard in the same manner. I also remind you that you once said that you can see both sides of the issue. Well, all those who attend the NID board meetings will not be so lucky, as one side of the debate is censored and not given the same platform as the pro-dam side. To allow Director Drew to have unlimited time to show his promotional media and then to deny the public who made a better quality product at their own expense a platform show terrible bias and lack of transparency. I hope you will reconsider showing for Kumimseu, River of the Roundhouses. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
We're in Lipowitz Grass Valley. Anyone would like to join me in the pledge to the earth? I pledge allegiance to the earth and all the life it supports, one planet in our care, irreplaceable with sustenance and respect for all. I'd like to second a couple things. I would like that film to be shown here at a meeting, and I would like Centennial to be on every regular agenda rather than the engineering committee. I think it's important enough that it deserves that regular focus. The water drops are back. I put them up on the board there, and I took two of them to talk about. One is growth and sprawl. It seems that the dam will be supplying water to one of the major focuses of this growth and sprawl down in Lincoln. Since most current NID customers live at higher elevations than the dam, it may not provide them with water, but instead enable more residential sprawl to the tune of 20,000 homes with big and thirsty McMansion lawns in Lincoln. So growth and sprawl. And then the fact that we are a part-time desert. We're a desert half the year, no rain. And I think we have, NID, it would behoove NID to encourage, not demand, but to incentivize desert landscaping, both for these huge McMansions down in Lincoln and for the golf courses that we have everywhere. Scarce water resources are being used irresponsibly by golfing communities. Lake Wildwood waters a 233-acre golf course and park greenbelts during the dry season. California golf courses, residential lawns, and ornamental landscaping should be desert designed and landscaped. Then some facts, don't have much time, on Lincoln. Just the fact that low-density residential construction is at 70%, medium density at 20%, and high density at 10%. Low-density residential is a McMansion with large lawns. So we are giving up our river to water lawns down in Lincoln, and that's not something I think we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Started early. Good morning, board and employees. I'm Mike Pasner. I'm farming organically in Penn Valley for 32 years with NID Water. I believe that NID is making a mistake by continuing to support the Centennial Reservoir and Power, the Crap Dam. I asked that the questions of the Resource and Maintenance, I asked these questions of the Resource and Maintenance Committee yesterday. There are several problems with the Vegetation Management Working Group. The Scotts Flat Working Group is open to the public. The Vegetation Management Working Group you have formed is not open to all of the stakeholders. I asked this question of that committee, and they said it's not a public group, and they will not allow it to be open. Second question, where are the written agenda and minutes for the working group meetings published? Answer, there will be none. Is the 6-inch grass rule being considered for a change by the working group? Current threats listed are mountain lions, snakes, skunks, and fire. These should be reconsidered. None of those are serious threats to a wildland situation like this that park rangers, ranchers, farmers deal with every day. You don't need to use those herbicides on the berms and the banks, and this should be discussed in this group and be part of the discussion. It is not. Why are the aquatic herbicides that are dripped into 350 miles of ditches not being considered for reduction and elimination at the same time as the terrestrial herbicides? These toxins, both used on the same ditch system, are definitely related and can have a common solution. The answer, this group will only deal with terrestrial herbicides. Why are you only dealing with part of it? Let's go. Let's get this thing fixed. This is wrong. Number 5, what is being done about elemental copper left in the ditches from the aquatic herbicide use? Where does this copper end up? How much copper is there? To NID's credit, they finally started testing how much copper is in the muck of these ditches, and I think it's going to be very interesting information. It doesn't disappear. It ends up in the muck. When it floods, it ends up on private property, and this is a big issue and should be dealt with. Rubber tracked excavators solve both problems economically. Why aren't they being tested along with others for potential solutions? NID repeatedly claims these are not financially viable. I do not agree. I'm an equipment operator all the time when I farm, and I think that they're not assessing things correctly. The finances for the rubber tracked excavator ditch cleaning needs to be carefully analyzed. The current financial analysis is inaccurate. Whoa.
Go ahead, Mike.
Manual cleaning and mechanical cleaning have been lumped together. This combination of expenses unfairly jacks the price of mechanically cleaning up by a huge amount. Manual cleaning is rarely used and extremely expensive. Why are these two methods lumped together when you're doing financial analysis? They should not be. To come up with an accurate cost for mechanical cleaning, these costs must be analyzed. All costs for licensing, liability insurance reductions as you use much less herbicides, the expense of proper herbicide storage, transportation of toxic chemicals, liability of leaching elemental copper on private property, poisoning of livestock drinking water laced with elemental copper, training for applicator personnel, danger to personnel, registration of toxic chemicals used by the Agricultural Department, the State Water Agency, etc. Testing for elemental copper as it enters the 6 water treatment plants. Notification of ditch poisoning, costs of herbicides. In conclusion, adding 1 small excavator and 1 part-time operator to the team that already cleans ditches is way cheaper than your current herbicide program. Why don't you consider this properly? It should be considered, and this group should be open to the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Pamela Osgood, Grass Valley. I just have a few short comments, and one is if you're driving on a trip somewhere and you find out you're going down the wrong road, oh my goodness, you don't have GPS or it's not working. Anyway, you don't keep going that way, do you? You turn around. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. You turn around and you go the other direction. And that's what so many of us here are asking you all, thoughtful people, to do, is to look at the Centennial Dam again and see that you're going in the wrong direction. And to have the courage to say it. I was wrong. And go back. The second thing is, I would really also like to see the film that Diana Suarez spoke about. And is 13 minutes really too much of your time to give to the other point of view that you could we could all open our minds for 13 minutes to see the other side? My last point is about the green. I'm sickened in the summer when I see people allowed to have green lawns here, but okay, maybe you request people to not water their lawns, but if people are speeding, and that's a law, we don't just say, gee, they're going too fast. And gee, those teenagers did get killed, and somebody was under the influence of something when they killed. No, you take measures against it, and that's what I'd like to see, is that people are severely fined. The golf course near where I live on Ridge Road is green, not the part that people don't pay for it to be. Just I'm turned around here, but right next door to you, this golf. Why should a graveyard where everybody's already gone on why should we allow water to be wasted? And since that's a public thing, I think that you guys could certainly do something about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Good morning, board and staff and members of the public. I'm Ricky Heck, and I am a candidate for NID Division 1, as most of you know. You know, I have been speaking up about NID's policy to purchase homes and land in the Bear River Canyon for nearly a year. And some of you may have read, I wrote a small little op-ed and letter to the editor that was published yesterday. And then I just thought I'd share, because a lot of folks have spoken about this. I went to a joint Chamber of Commerce gathering last night, and I lost count at the number of local business people who came up to me and said, thank you for writing that. This is not a good business decision. So on your closed agenda today is again what others have said, is the consideration of a purchase of a home on 5 acres. It is in the inundation zone. It is valued at over $1,800,000. Like the other millions of dollars you have already spent, this again will be taxpayer money. And I don't believe, and from the feedback I receive in the community as I move around, most people do not believe that this is a proper way to spend taxpayers' money. Each purchase seems to be premature and frankly irresponsible to your taxpayers. You don't know the full costs. You've not seen the environmental work. I don't need to go over all that ground. You've heard that before. But you also don't have any permits. I believe NID's monies can be put put to much greater immediate and beneficial use. And I ask you again, please discontinue your policy of property purchases in this Bear River Canyon. If you have millions of surplus dollars, please spend it in ways that will better serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sid Brown, and I'm here to speak to a couple of things. And I would like to acknowledge the very respectful message that Nicole gave earlier. And I think I certainly can learn from her very measured and wise words. So I thank you, Nicole. I attended the Resource and Recreation and Resource Management meeting yesterday, the committee meeting, and Mr. Drew seemed to not understand or know about the razor wire at the Scotts Flat spillway. And I would like to just show pictures that I took yesterday on my walk. There is razor wire there, and at the committee meeting yesterday, there was an agenda item to extend the fencing and to replace the galvanized fencing with a vinyl clad option at a total cost of about $49,000 additional dollars. In this time of fiscal concerns and responsibility, I believe that that money would be better spent in other ways. I would like to see the razor wire removed, and I plan to go to the committee meeting and the public meeting that is scheduled, I think, for April. The razor wire is very much a I don't believe it's warranted. It's a it's a very cold and threatening message. I posted a couple of pictures on Facebook yesterday, and the president of the Sierra Parks Foundation said that looks like a prison. I just said, what do you think of the new fence for security and safety purposes? Absolutely neutral comment. And I get a lot of concerns about the razor wire. Fencing, I get. Barriers, I get. Putting vinyl clad on a galvanized fencing, I don't think is necessary. Extending the wing walls, I understand. That's important to prevent, hazards. So I'd just like to walk by, show the picture, and I will conclude my remarks with that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing that.
Ram, can we have Kian bring in a sample of the wire? I'd like to look at it to see whether it's barbed flat wire or it is in fact razor wire.
Okay.
So that I can look at it.
Okay. No more public comment. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. And is there any one that wants to remove anything from consent?
Yeah, I have 3 and 4. I'd like pulled, please.
Okay.
Brief information.
Therefore, motion to approve the consent agenda absent items 3 and 4.
There's a motion. Is there a second? So moved. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Division 1.
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye. Okay, you want to start with 1?
You want to start with number 3?
Oh, excuse me.
You're
Except
echoing.
3. I circled the wrong one,
You'd
sorry.
be better off without that thing in front of you.
Oh, yeah, this? You talking about the agenda or this?
That.
I circled the wrong ones, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had questions about number 3. Has this accountant position been advertised before?
The accountant position has been advertised before.
Unsuccessfully?
Yes. Unsuccessfully, yes, ma'am.
We've had a lot of temps. It's been kind of expensive in the accounting area, which I've been tracking. So Is this going to take care of some of those temps, or are we?
Yes, ma'am. The original temp situation that we had with the accountant was because our accountant was out on leave.
Personal leave.
Personally.
Okay. Thank you. So it's interesting that you upped the salary, and it's hard to compare, I think, because it's not clear whether some of these comparisons are level 1 or 2 as far as accountant goes. It looks like we might be.
So our current accountant is the accountant 1 position, an entry-level accountant. So the salary is exactly the same. And then we use the district's methodology. If you look at the bottom of the page, Director Weber, you'll see that the proposed accountant 2 starts mid-band on the accountant 1 position, which is normally how we establish a job family.
Okay. So when are we going to do the salary survey?
So the salary survey is an item that we have agreed to do with the current bargaining units, and we're going to engage in that here this year. So we're starting that process up. We had to deal with the HRA in the contract as the first reopener. The salary survey will follow.
About when do you think?
Probably second and third quarter.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any more questions about that. On number 4, Timberwood Estates, how many units?
Morning, board, staff, and public. Chip Close, Water Operations Manager. If you look at the second page in the agreement, it states there are 45 parcels and 3 irrigation meters that will be serviced by this proposed development.
Are these apartments?
They are individual homes, but they're spaced really close together. I think some of them might even be duplex.
Like a
type
townhouse
style.
sort of thing?
Exactly.
Okay, so 45 homes.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Motion to approve items 3 and 4 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Comment? No. Okay. Motion and a second. Roll call.
Division 1.
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye.
Division 3.
Aye.
Division 5.
Aye.
Division 4.
Aye. General Manager's report.
Good morning, board, public, and staff. I'm pleased to report this morning that NID currently has in storage 248,833 acre-feet, which is 136% of average and 92% of capacity. I would point out to the board that at this point, that number is 12,133 acre-feet above our normal declaration. So we will be bringing surplus water to you in the coming weeks. Also, it's interesting to note that in the month of March, NID has received to date 20.34 inches at Bowman, which is 192% of average, which is a lot, right? Yeah, so here I guess you could call that a miracle March. We are currently at 99% for our March 31 in terms of precipitation, which puts us on track for a normal year. Our snowpack is not in fantastic shape. The last event went through, melted a lot with its current temperatures and rain on snow events all the way up through Truckee. On the legislative side, we are still tracking SB 623, the water tax. That is still a budget trailer bill and has been brought forward by the State Water Resources Control Board. Their efforts were stalled in the budget committee when the chair, Felicia Marquez, was unable to quantify Aqua's position in terms of an alternative. So State Water Board has been directed to go back, look at Aqua's alternative for funding, and bring that back to the Budget Committee. SB 606 and 1668, the water conservation bills, continue to move forward. Those are the Hertzberg bills, which will reduce the amount of water that our customers can take from the system. And then SB 998, the no shutoff bill, that's also still moving. I had a very good and productive meeting this week with Aqua's Region 3 board, on which I sit, as well as the Mountain Counties board. Both boards were brought together in Placerville to discuss ways for the two boards to work together and support the Sierras. And I think one of the big takeaways out of that meeting was a desire for all parties involved to begin to move forward on a water and fire bond for the Sierras specifically. All the water bonds that we have experienced as a state thus far have been predominantly for the Delta and for the Delta management issues. SB 5 and the initiative bond are no different. But we've never asked the state to consider a bond, a funding mechanism to support the Sierras. And that's important, as you all know, that 60% of the state's water comes from the Sierras. But I would caveat that, and that is 100% of the water that the state has authority over. So the other 40% comes out of the Colorado River. That's not water that we have any kind of control over here in the state. So the Aqua 3 board is going to start to look for mechanisms to begin to try to set up a funding group to try to set up a bond. So that's a really an innovative idea, and it's kind of a big step for those of us in the Sierras where we haven't traditionally put money up to try to start an initiative like this. It's generally Southern California or the Delta that's able to move stuff like this. Other meetings, I had the pleasure of speaking to the Lincoln Republicans last night with Will. I thought that was well received. That was just about the district in total and how it operates and how we're connected to them. I also met with the City of Lincoln in two different events. We met in a quarterly 2-on-2, which is 2 of their council members and 2 of our board members. That I think went very well. That was a kind of a kickoff meeting. We haven't had meetings like that in my tenure here yet. And then also met with City of Lincoln staff to discuss the 3-party agreement and turning the temporary agreement from 05 into something more permanent for the City of Lincoln. A couple big initiatives here at the district right now. We have, as some of you know, we've completed our active shooter training both on campus and at our remote campuses. Interestingly enough, through that process, a number of staff came forward with various ideas on what to do, how to do, and how to restructure some of our processes here at the district. So we're going back and reassessing some of our site security, and we'll be making some adjustments in terms of how people come and go on the campus, how people come and go in the building, and other things. So you'll most likely start seeing some policy as we in the APC and then further on to the board as we try to address some of the access issues for us here as well as at our satellite components. That's also brought, so other issues, cybersecurity has popped up on our radar. I'm done? Okay, 3 minutes. Dang. So recently, within the last few weeks, a public electric utility, which looks and sounds like PG&E, has been, I don't know if you're awarded a fine. Are you awarded a fine? Has been issued a fine for $2.7 million for violating their CEI, their critical energy infrastructure requirements, in terms of protecting the infrastructure data and operations data of the entity. So that's caused us some concern at the district because we currently work with an entity that kind of looks like PG&E, and some of our data may be resident with an entity that kind of looks like PG&E. And so we're internally starting to work on some cybersecurity processes here at the district. We have now a cybersecurity insurance policy, or we're in the process of developing the cyber insurance policy. So we have $2 million, and with a $25,000 deductible. That's important because, as I put in your box this morning, the City of Atlanta has recently experienced a ransomware attack, which caused them to spend $51,000. This is the second time Atlanta has not secured its web front-forward services. So NID needs to start engaging in some of that activity. The other thing that you'll see is we're going to modify some of our agreements to ensure that our contractors who are operating inside and outside our system with electronic deliverables and email and whatnot, that they also adhere to tighter cybersecurity rules. Not to out our council, but Manassian has been a victim of ransomware. Churchill White, also our attorney, has also been a victim. So what's happening, everyone, is there's a focused activity right now through a number of platforms. One's called Dragonfly, that is moving through the internet, for lack of a better way to describe it, and it's trying to harvest and penetrate and understand electric power utilities. So we are experiencing at the district roughly 150 to 160,000 hits a day that are fishing and spearing the district to try to find a way to penetrate.
Unbelievable.
And so we are spending a considerable amount of time and effort to shield the district's customers and their data and our infrastructure data from these attacks. The most recent style is a spear phishing attack where they're identifying management and senior staff and sending emails to them that have attachments on them that are similar in style to what they have patterned that individual to look for. So if you're a rec manager and you're going to sites to find inflatable beach equipment, they will create an email that does this, and then when the manager gets it, it says, hey, come to our site. You click and you go to that site, and it's not what you think it is. And they've immediately entered into the system, they've harvested the data from that manager, and then they have the piece. So anyway, the long and the short of it is we're going to start building additional policy to prevent the interaction of certain data sets and prevent the outing of our data sets in the public space in a more aggressive way than we have in the past. On the capital side, we are currently working on the rattlesnake VEP. We'll start digging at the end of the week, weather permitting. The Hemp Hill Sequoia kickoff meeting happened last week, so we're underway there. We're pouring the foundations at Orchard Springs, which means our building's on the way, and hopefully we'll have it up and running for the next season. Mead Canal work. As you know, we were in condemnation preparations as we move towards the Mead Canal. We're currently working with Mr. Bisnet on some easement language across his property. We're doing that ahead of CEQA, and the reason we're doing that is because if we can't reach agreement, then doing the CEQA work doesn't help us. So it seems prudent at this point to move forward with those negotiations, try to get the easements in place, and then start talking about, and then get the CEQA work complete. The Penn Valley pipeline work, replacement work will start again in April, so we're back into Penn Valley to complete what we've started there. And then one that's taken a while, and it's been kind of a back burner issue, and we're now closing it up, I think, is that we are finally in contract. We're in contracting with PG&E to finally bring power to the ditch tender's house, so that we can bring that asset into a protected state at Scotts Flat, and then start to move some of our historical information there, as well as allow the public to utilize the facility in the future. And that concludes my update.
Rem, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You were at that meeting, and I was too, and so was Scott. The Public Works Director was there, right? Matt? Is he the Public Works Director?
No, I think he's the Community Development Director.
Community Development Director.
Yeah. Jennifer
How many?
is the Deputy Director of Public Works, and she works for him.
Okay, so how many? He mentioned the applications for building permits that are being issued in Lincoln per year. How many building permits are being issued there? How many did he say there were?
So he said that they're issuing roughly 250 a year right now.
250.
Yeah.
Okay, 250 a year, and not all. We don't know how much is in the district, but that potentially could be some in the district, but could be not in the, most likely out of the district, right?
I know right now that there are no building permits being pulled for development within NID service territory.
So it's outside the district. Most of the city and the city proper and the development in Lincoln is outside the district. It's generally
Village 5 and Village 7.
Which is west of 65.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so there's no building permits. All right.
Right.
Thanks.
They're trying to get there, and we have a couple developments that are in process. But yeah, right now they're not pulling permits for our area.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Your statement that we are are subject to 150,000 hacking attempts a day.
Yes, sir.
Rather distressing. All of these so far have been turned away. What's the likelihood that one of these will penetrate and do real damage to the system?
So a member of staff did open an email within the last week that was a spearphishing attempt. Luckily for us, we have a crack IT team. I say that jokingly, but they are fantastic. They identified it, they shut it down. Right now, I don't know how far am I supposed to go on this stuff before I have to stop.
Well, did
IT
Monica get her inflatable beach equipment?
only the rubber ducky.
It wasn't Monica.
It was only the example.
It wasn't Monica. So what's happening is that there are a number of random attacks where they're just sweeping through the system, and then we have discrete IP addresses that are launching attacks against the district. And once those start, our guys and gals immediately identify the IP address and lock it out so that it cannot find a port on the district. So there are a number of ports that are open that the district is watching or monitoring as we're receiving traffic, email traffic, SCADA traffic, a lot of stuff. Those ports are open to IP addresses. If we identify an IP address that has begun a discrete attack on the district, we can identify that IP address, inform the firewall, and the firewall will shut those ports to that number. So it's kind of like NID becomes invisible to that attack. So IT showed me a lot of them, not 155,000. 155,000 is all in a single day on average. It's a lot.
Sounds robotic.
Some of it is, Scott. Some of it is just it's a server that's just sweeping, and it's looking for something that looks like us. So we have to be very careful.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board of directors items or reports? Start with you, Nancy.
I have
Director
no report.
Ward.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Nothing. Scott.
Made a presentation on to the annual Golden Oaks Road Association, my neighborhood thing. They always ask me to update on NID and what's going on. And there was a lot of questions and concerns about extending water lines off of the BEP. Definite interest, and so don't see Ms. Woods here today, but I kept telling everybody to call our business ombudsman towards that. I did make a presentation, the PowerPoint, on the Centennial, and it was very well received by the 80 people in the room. Curiosity and eagerness, no naysayers.
Director Wilcox.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, well, I have a few things. As General Manager Schertzinger mentioned, I did attend the Lincoln meeting of the city manager and the community development director and several of the city council members, the mayor, etc. And it was a very informative meeting, and we did get a little bit of insight in the actual development of Lincoln, which I was interested in. And as Rem had mentioned, the number was about 250 applications for houses in Lincoln. And many of we also talked about some of the developments that have been on NID property or NID district, which was Lincoln Crossings, which is in the district. And in Lincoln Crossings, they really have no landscape at all. They're in little cul-de-sacs, and I think there's probably 4 or 5, maybe 300 or 400, maybe 400 or 500, and they are in cul-de-sacs and lined up in cul-de-sacs, and they're two-story houses with virtually no landscape. So the city of Lincoln, as it stands now, and in recent development, hasn't used a lot of water in the anticipation. I mean, it could change, but as of recently, it was 250 houses that they had projected to be built each year. But they did say it could change, but not dramatically. They didn't expect anything. And a lot of that development, when you do mention Lincoln, a lot of that development is in PCWA, and it's farther west. And so that's village, like, I think it's village 5 and 6 or 6 and 7 that you mentioned, which are the large ones that will be developed. So it was an interesting meeting. Also last night, I was with Rem and had a presentation with Del Webb. And Del Webb is a retirement community. And about 50, maybe 60% of Del Webb is in PCWA territory, and the rest of it in PCWA district. About 40% to 45%, I believe, is in Lincoln. I mean, is in Nevada Irrigation. I think it was 3,400 homes in the district, and that community, I've walked that community a lot, and that community is sort of, it looks like something that you might see in Arizona. There's not a lot of landscaping. There's landscaping, but it's dry landscaping, because a lot of the people they service, they move a lot. I mean, they go on vacations. I mean, it's a retirement community, so they don't want to take care of their landscape. So it does look like Arizona. So I think there might be some misconception about what is occurring in Lincoln. And I having lived there most of my life, I've seen it, and I know what is occurring there. Also, what was also important, and part of what I was talking about in the Del Webb and with the Del Webb community, and they were interested in, is the benefit that they have, whether they are or not in the district. The benefit that they get through the district is by the open space that is kept around the city of Lincoln by and in Placer County by having agriculture there. And as I've mentioned before, about 40 so many years ago, I moved in that area for the very purpose of farming and having a small farm, and I made sure that I was in Nevada Irrigation District. And it's very important up in that area. And they were able to see even though they weren't directly in the district, a lot of the benefits inured to them by virtue of the open space that surrounded them. And they asked a ton of questions. I think our question and answer period was about 45 to 50 minutes. And they were interested in everything from soup to nuts about the district, and they really hadn't known a lot about it. And by the time we left, they all wanted to be in the district. Most of them were in PCWA, but I tried to convince them that, they do receive a lot of the benefits, because they do purchase a lot of raw water for their lakes and for their golf courses. So that's all I have to say. So are there any public comments on items to be considered in closed session?
Good morning, Michael Hillwell, President of Division 1. I notice on your agenda that you have an item to consider purchasing a 4.83 acre parcel and home on Deerwood Place with an assessed value of $1,841,000. That's, I believe the APN number is on the agenda, and the information, I'm adding that information, yes. Because the information provided to the public and to the board is inadequate to really assess the impact. I'm assuming that you're considering buying this property for the dam project. You have no approved dam project You have no environmental review document. You have nothing that indicates that the project is even viable. And yet you're looking at expending potentially $1.8 million for property. I would urge you to defer making any decision on the item that you have before you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more?
Diana Suarez, Colfax, California. I was struck by the fact that the shrinking snowpack is a reason to build Centennial Reservoir. However, now you have surplus water to send to Lincoln for their development. Why don't you consider the amount of snowpack in your overall water?
Is that an item to be considered in closed session?
I'm talking about the 1.8 million house that you're going to turn into the muddy bottom of a half-full reservoir in order to supply 250 cul-de-sac homes for Lincoln.
Okay.
And I think that destroying property to that kind of value, to take away the property entirely, and the taxpayer property taxes that would go to Placer County or Nevada County, and that's not the only home that you want to turn into a valueless piece of mud. And you're taking people's lives and dreams and value, and the value of our counties, and turning it into a reservoir bottom that has no value for the people that were there, yet you're transferring the value down to Lincoln so that they can develop. That's not what the people in this county want. And the question has come up many times, is the money that they're going to put into this reservoir built to supply water in Lincoln? And then you go through our canyon and denude it, take away all the value. That's a valuable piece of property that anybody would want to live on. Lakefront property, a nice home, $1.8 million. And you're taking that and making it nothing. And I would like you to consider the snowpack in your declaration of surplus water. Why don't you hang on to your water and conserve it because you don't have a snowpack? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Kurt Lorenz again. With respect to your potential action in closed session, I just wanted to tell you that when I was on the Nevada County Planning Commission at the time that Hal DeGraw was the county attorney who was assigned to that, had we approved any operation like that or moved to approve it, we would have gotten busted for pre-decisional, the technical term for changing a potential project area before you have any permission to do anything on it. And again, you know, there may be some technical reason why theoretically you can do this, but I think you're skating on very thin ice. And there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of things connected with Centennial are going to end up in the courts before, you know, anything gets done. So I suggest you pay attention to that.
Okay, thank you very much. No more comments? We'll close the open session, move to closed session. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to close, and open for Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's 11:08 a.m. The announcement from closed session is as follows. Concerning the South Yuba Canal real property negotiation, direction was given to the real property negotiator. Concerning the closed session item regarding real property negotiations concerning Nevada County APN 27-070-58, direction was given to the real property negotiator. And concerning the last closed session item regarding pending and potential litigation pertaining to the proposed Centennial Reservoir project, direction was given to legal counsel.
Thank you. We'll now close open session.